Hey everyone, it is Erin Chung, and I teach real estate agents how to generate leads on demand so that way they can grow their real estate businesses on autopilot. I have a new community influencer success story here for you, and I want to introduce Monica. So, Monica, tell us who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff.
Hi guys, I am Monica Herrera. I am in the Central Valley, which is about an hour and a half away from the San Francisco Bay Area, and I am with Realty One Group Gold out of Modesto.
Nice, nice. Okay, cool. So, Monica, you've been an Academy member for quite some time. I just always like to ask people, do you happen to remember? I know it was a long time ago. Do you happen to remember like how you found me or like how you came across? Like, how did you enter this world? Do you remember your journey?
I do. I was actually doing a lot of research online of what realtors are doing, and I was really hitting a brick wall like daily. The brokerage I was with previous, they were old school, and they're like, send postcards, and I'm like, I might as well throw $200 in the trash. So I was constantly online trying to see what other realtors are doing, what programs were out there, and I had actually stumbled across your program. It was one of video you had done on YouTube. And I had stumbled across it like end of May, beginning of June. And I had kind of just sat and watched all the videos. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm not getting enough information here. And that's where I ultimately made the leap and joined the program. But it took me about a month and a half because I kind of thought I could cheat and do it on my own. But I didn't get quite enough information to be ultimately successful.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's, and you know this, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of people who are there's a lot of information in the academy.
Mhm.
So obviously, like I can't teach all of it, even if I
Mhm.
wanted to. But yeah, like because I hear that like someone in our free group actually
Mhm.
said she's like, oh, I've been like just doing all the free stuff this whole entire time. She ultimately ended up joining, and then she was like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm coming up on my 1 year, actually in a couple of days. So I was definitely well worth it. I really enjoyed
Yay.
it.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, do you remember if you can think back to last year, what was life like before the academy? I always like to get a good idea of like what you were doing beforehand, or like tell me
Mhm.
your process before you kind of entered our world.
I was struggling. I sold one house and it was to my sister, so it doesn't really count. And it was just constant brick wall, dead end leads. I had been approached. I got sucked into that whole Zillow thing. And I paid for a 6-month contract and got nothing out of it. I am an hour and a half from the Central Valley, but unfortunately, I'm kind of in an area that they're not hip to things. They do things kind of old school. And, I grew up in the Bay Area. So for me to come out here and kind of go, well, I throw postcards away, like nobody reads them. Um, so I was just struggling trying to get leads. And again, the brokerage they didn't think outside the box. And I kind of do. And so it was just a brick wall after brick wall. And so when I found the program, I was like, okay, I had heard people talk about, postings and how to do it correctly but I might as well have just been throwing the money out the window previous. So it was just kind of like a brush. I literally spent 4 days and blew to the entire program because I was like, I need to get next step, next step, next step.
Yes, yes. I actually, I don't think I've ever talked about this before, but I actually when I first became an agent, I
Mm-hmm.
did the whole like advertising done for you situation as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I spent a lot of money. Like, because when I first started, I had like a day job. And so I was like siphoning money from my day job and then dumping it into advertising
Mm-hmm.
so I could get leads. And like, I just remember thinking to myself, like, there has got to be another way. This is
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel you 100%
Yeah.
with the advertising. Because
Mm-hmm.
I want to also just talk about a little bit about like the difference between when you're advertising versus your like do it yourself. So like what made you ultimately decide to do like a DIY option as opposed to like a done for you advertising solution?
It was cheesy. The done for you, like they would send me like ideas and they would send me like mock-ups, and I was like, oh, I could do that. All you did was go in there and add my name.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the one thing that I don't want to be is everybody else. Everybody does the same thing out here. You know, they have the same business cards, the same cheesy pictures on their business cards. And it's just because it's easy. You know, my previous life, I come from an interior design and kitchen and bath background. So for me to just put my name on a template, I was like, this, no.
Yes.
So it was difficult, but, you know, I found the program and being able to customize everything to me just kind of fit who I am and how I function and work.
I think some people get frustrated who are in the academy who are not creative people. And so they're like, well, I mean, we have options for people who aren't creative. You kind of
Right.
can, change your colors and your fonts and your photos. But if you are creative, you like the sky is honestly the limit of what you can do. I'm a creative person, as you know. And so I felt the exact same way where I was like, I'm not going to put my name on this flyer because number one, this flyer is ugly. And like, it doesn't, like,
yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't feel right about like having my name and my brand on something that was like disgusting. So I was just like, I need to figure this out. So I actually like the fact that when we have people who are creative like you, it makes it so easy because I feel like I was looking for a creative solution. So like I kind of built what I wanted to see. And so it actually warms my heart that you're saying that as a creative person that you actually can like come in here, do what you need to do and like feel like, okay, like I feel like this is a place where I can express myself and be creative, not be like everyone else. So that's huge.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me, you have actually, I saw this a year ago and like, I still can't believe this, but I want to talk about like the biggest result that you have had since joining the academy. And I kind of like watched your whole journey through this. And so let's talk about what happened to you and like how this all came about.
So I did an ad, well, not an ad, but it was like an event listing for holiday boutiques that were going on in the Central Valley. And I had been posting it everywhere and I had, you know, obviously paid through Facebook ads and it was pretty cool. I thought it was, you know, I put it together and it listed every holiday boutique from like the end of October through like right before Christmas. So I could see that people were sharing it. And my cousin, in fact, she shared it on her page and somebody responded. Submitted their information, you know, just like they normally would. It went in through my drip. And then a couple days later, I got this little email that says, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm looking to relocate from the Bay Area into the Central Valley. Would you mind helping me? And I was like, oh, cool. You know, so then started having the conversation and, you know, they weren't really sure what they wanted to do, like where exactly they wanted to be. They just wanted to be off like the Highway 99 corridor, which is a little further east from where I'm at. I said, sure, no problem. I'd be happy. So I started sending listings to them. And then a couple of days after that, they were like, cool, here's the 5 houses we want to go look at. I said, okay, I like when they're proactive because then I don't feel like I'm wasting my time showing them something that they have no interest in. And so we met and I was like, wow, you're cool. I like you. And started showing them houses and they found a house that they loved. And then we put an offer in and then they had kind of, the wife more so had joked about it. Like, oh, I'm going to call the casting director for House Hunters. And I was like, okay, you know, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. I was so busy with paperwork and I had so many closings and things going on at that time. I just kind of went. And so offer was accepted. We moved through and then she called me back a couple days later and said, hey, by the way, the casting director wants to meet with you. And I said, what are you talking about?
What?
And I go, you were serious? And she goes, oh yeah. She's like, I'm an overachiever. And, you know, she went to Santa Clara University. So she was not joking. She had reached out to, that was on one of her bucket list goals. She had reached out to the casting director when they had first started looking. The casting director told her, you need to find a home and move a little further along in the purchase process and then reach back out to us. And then we'll immediately send a camera crew out and coordinate everything. So it was we still had to like do an interview for it. So I called the casting director and I was like, this isn't a joke, right? Like, I'm not being punked or like,
Right.
I'm like, cause like seriously, like inside I want to explode. So if you burst my bubble, I might,
Right.
I
Right.
might not get out of bed for a couple of days.
Right.
But they were serious, and everything fell on me. So that was the hardest thing. Was she was like, you're the deciding thing, the factor. Like, they want to meet you, they want to make sure you have a good camera presence. We went through, so she's like, shine, because she goes, she says, if this doesn't go through, I might cancel my contract. And I was like,
No.
okay, no pressure or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went through that process, and they showed up a week later, and we started recording.
So, okay, let me just get this straight. So you learned how, obviously, to run Facebook ads. You run
Correct.
a Facebook ad.
Correct.
You get like a normal buyer. Everything's just like, perfectly normal. And
Right.
then all of a sudden you're on TV.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it was, I still, like, even when they sent the email that, you've been accepted, here's your episode number, this is, the itinerary, how it's going to go. I was still like, is this really happening?
Yes.
And there's a part of you that you're like, yay, I'm so excited. And then you start recording and you're like, oh my God, how do people do this every day? It was exhausting.
Yes.
So a lot of fun, but it was exhausting. Yeah.
So I actually, I did lead generation for a celebrity agent on one of the TV, like a very popular TV show. Mm-hmm. And he was explaining how like the show actually helps him, because when he is like door knocking, or if he's cold calling, or if he's running ads, like, with me or whatever, it was like they already knew who he was. And so do you feel like you've gotten any results, like just directly from the show? Has anyone like seen it or recognized you or anything? Like, have you gotten any leads from the show at all?
So my episode actually hasn't aired yet. So I had actually just reached out a couple of weeks ago. We finished filming in March, and they said that they're a little backlogged, and normally it will take anywhere from 6 to 8 months.
Gotcha.
So I reached out a couple of weeks ago, and they said that the episode will air probably October, November timeframe. So I was like, perfect, just in time for Christmas, because people will be off and they'll be home.
Yes.
And the really cool thing is that the episode will air, they said, anywhere from 5 to 10 times a year for the next 4 years.
Nice.
So I was like, great. That is like free advertising. Yes. Over and over again for the next 4 years.
One of the things that I like the most about like community influencer marketing is that I hear this actually a lot. Like we have another person in the academy also who did House Hunters International, and her episode's already aired, and it's a whole thing. But like what I love is the fact that like when you put yourself out there, especially when you're doing videos consistently and you're doing all of this stuff consistently, you've had a lot of practice. So then you actually get to the point where someone's like, hey, we want to do a casting call. I feel like it's almost like, and I can't speak for you, but like I feel like it's like, for me, if someone were to ask me now, I'd be like, oh, sure. Because I do video so often. I'm so used to it. So like as more doors and more opportunities open, it's almost like you've been preparing for this the whole entire time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I would agree. It wasn't even the camera, because you're like, okay, yeah, you're there. It was more, okay, do it again. Or don't say it like this. So that was the frustrating thing, because I was like, I don't say things like that. And they're like, somewhere peppy, like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't live near the beach. Like, no, I don't talk like that. That was the hardest part. But it was the first hour after, you're just comfortable. And then you become friends with the camera guys, or, all of a sudden you'll hear him in your ear, Monica, stop fidgeting. And you're like, okay. Or, you're slouching, or, that kind of thing. So then you're like, okay. So.
Wow, that is so exciting. I'm so excited for you. Like I'm really proud of like all of that stuff. Like I cannot wait for your episode to air. And also, you probably have already thought about this, but when your episode airs, especially for the first time, try to do like a watch party on social media.
I was planning on it.
Okay, good. Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Good.
Yeah, I wanted to do something like kind of cool or, different. And I had thought about that. I haven't figured out the live part yet, so I'll have to do a little bit more research. But yeah, definitely going to do something big.
Awesome. Well, I love this. Is there anything before we close out? Is there anything you want to say, or just anything at all that comes to mind before we close out here?
I would just like to tell you thank you. I think that for me personally, and I'm sure, there's quite a few others in the group, the program, you kind of walk in and you're like, what's happening? The program gives you so much confidence. You know how they say mindset, which you put out into the universe comes back to you? Mm-hmm. I truly believe that because since completing the program, like my mindset has kind of changed and I have more confidence. I know what I'm doing now is going to pay off at some point. And just career-wise, since starting in, last August, it was the House Hunters thing. And then, I was able to snag a new construction development. I was able to, gain a ton of referrals just off people seeing my ads, those types of things. That all helps with your confidence level. And then it's just kind of like things start flowing in where you're like, whoa, now I need an assistant, or, I think that's my biggest takeaway from, everything is an opportunity. And this was just a tremendous opportunity because I'd never stumbled across your program. I'd have never, gotten that lead. I would have never gotten my development. I'm in the process of converting a bus right now for a mobile office. Like things are just changing. Wow. And it's all because of your program. And just like I said, the confidence that it instills. Like people will come to me and be like, oh, why are you doing this? Or why are your business cards shaped like baseball cards? Like, why? And it's like, why didn't you think of it first?
Yes. And yes, you were like, so like being different. Oh my gosh. Like I tell people all the time, like embrace it because why would you want to look? There's no competitive advantage of looking like your competitor, like none. So I'm like, man, and I forgot you did tell me, because I remember this was about almost like 9 months ago, maybe now, 6 to 9 months ago, about the development. I forgot all about that. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that was because I had my stuff together, if you will, in my portfolio. And now, mind you, at that point, I had probably only done like 3 transactions, but I walked in there and I was like, look, I worked for builders for 15 years in their design studio. Here's what I can do. Here's how we're going to do it. And they're like, okay, go for it.
Yes.
So it was just kind of like, whoa, I went from balancing a checkbook, if you will, to kind of going, all right, we're cool this month. Like we don't have to worry about it. And that's just the bigger thing. Like it's just what you put out into the universe comes back to you. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
Well, I'm so proud of you. And I'm also I'm really glad that when I created the program, I never really thought that confidence would be one of the after effects of all of the stuff that's happening. But if I had a nickel for every time someone said like, oh, I'm just more confident now. And it's like, oh, like that actually makes sense to me, even though I didn't anticipate that from the very beginning. So I'm really glad that you're able to have confidence, like walk into a situation, know that you can own it. Like, because like you said, mindset is everything. Like that's a really big deal. And the fact that you're confident is huge. So I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And I will definitely be seeing you in the Facebook group, I'm sure. And when the show airs, like, please let us know so that we can do a watch party in the group for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Monica. Talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.